Hello, everyone. Let me give it just a second before I go ahead and start. Please give this video a thumbs up and share. Please drop a comment. Feel free to join the live chat tonight. I'll be diving in to the chat box periodically during tonight's collective message. Okay, so welcome. Tonight, I will be diving into a collective message on how to tap into your intuition. So, last Tuesday, 3 p.m. Central, I tuned into a collective message to share with you guys during that show. And it was part one. So, we talked a lot about psychic ability during that whole show. Now, tonight, I'll be continuing on into mediumship. So, I'm going to go over some tips, some tricks, and techniques to help you to tap into communication with your spirit guides, which is really important, especially during this time when there's a lot going on Earth, within our families, in our homes. So, it's good to have your spirit team near you and to know how to tap into them. It's super important. So, if you're here, say hello in the chat box. If you would like a reading, I am also offering readings. Depending on how many questions that I get, will determine when I'm going to actually give the reading on tonight's show. I'm thinking towards the end. But you can post your question at any time, and then check my description box. It'll show you kind of like the information on how to order your reading. Okay, so it's a because we're tapping into intuition and how to tap into it. It might be this might be a good show to ask about your own spiritual abilities, your own spirit guides, or how to communicate through your unique connection. So feel free to go ahead and drop those questions in the live chat at any time, and then I'll stop with the collective messages and try to respond timely. But if something's channeling through, I'll probably just continue with the message and check the chat box later. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into today's message. I want to keep it light, and I think talking about how to tap into your intuition is good and light given the state of the world and the astrological transits we're facing this month are pretty intense to where it feels like a lot of friction, but the word is really pressure. Right now, a lot of us are feeling this like extreme pressure, like a pressure cooker type of situation, pressure crack pot thing. Um, and it's affecting our relationships. It's affecting our work, our career, our soul's purpose, our health. A lot of us are feeling this Uranus energy. If you're an astrologer watching, please let me know in the live chat what's going on specifically. I'm not an astrologer, but I know that Uranus is showing its, erotic, sporadic, crazy, surprising, shocking energy. That is all Uranus is about. So things have been shocking the past 2 weeks. If you haven't been shocked, stay tuned, stay grounded. There could be some really revealing information coming through for you or to you. It doesn't have to be negative when something's like shocking or alarming, but usually it's necessary. Um, it's kind of like that dark night of the soul. When I think of shocking energy, it's a means of transmutation. It's like a vessel of growth. When you are in that state of, oh my gosh, your brain's in a heightened state, your body goes into a different state, and you will shift your chemistry. So whenever that happens, you're going to feel a shift in your life, and sometimes that can influence your belief systems, especially with the transits we're facing in December. Also, if you want to participate in the live chat, please let me know where you're watching from. I'm in Frisco, Texas, United States right now. It's 7:11 p.m. Central Timing. And so let's just dive in. Again, I'm going to keep this light, but I do want to speak on just briefly before I go into the message on intuition about what we're going through right now collectively. It's intense. And this Saturday, I have a video coming out on how to keep your faith when things seem really dark. It's a really good video. I recorded it yesterday, and it will air 8 a.m. Saturday. So check it out. I go over some tips on how to really keep and hold your faith when. Have you ever been in a situation where it's like you were led on a path, and it was like you almost like you were led right into darkness? You were led into chaos. You honor your spirit and follow your soul, and it led you into a whole bunch of breakdowns and roadblocks, things that feel um, like it's your field's just full of resistance. Okay, so how do you keep your faith when you're led into these moments and into these spaces? That video is going to go over some tips for you to hold your place and when things are feeling rocky and out of your control. There's a purpose, there's a time, and that we are all kind of going through that collective energy where it's like things are kind of falling through our fingertips, where it's like, I can't really hold this. It's like we're the ball is just rolling and we're going forward, and we just have to be present and get through it. So I've been really into ginger tea since December started. I've just been really into ginger. It's good for winter. It's rooty. It is a root, but it'll help you to stay rooted. And I love the spice of it, so that's what I'm sipping on right now. But we have to be careful with everything that's going on, not to scapegoat. Okay, I see that as something that we really do have to all make sure we are doing when there's like tragedy after tragedy after tragedy, or a lot of shocking or pressure after pressure and chaos after chaos. You can tend to leave reality mentally. You can kind of check out. And depending on your state of trauma that you've gone through and your healing journey, it can be different. That can look different per person. But scapegoating is where, we've got a lot going on over here, but then something small happens over here. So, but we focus on this. This small thing becomes everything to us, because we can't really control the big mess behind us. We put it all, we project onto this thing over here because it's smaller and more controllable. Okay, so say out of scapegoating, just face these times. We have to just be present. We're going to get through it. And when reality gets tough, we don't want to crack under pressure. That's the message from Spirit today. Don't crack under pressure. I know this week I've been having a heavy pressure and a feeling of this heavy hand of pressure. And it's just like, I feel like I'm going to just crack and break. And it's like, hold your groundedness, hold your presence, cry if you have to, go kickboxing, go running, go do what you do with your exercise or workouts to release, do what you got to do, process the pain, process the detox, and you will get through this. We have to also understand that it's on time. I think that's where this message is also coming in. I know I find a lot of peace in knowing that things are on time. And there is a time for, the graduation ceremony, but that's like, it's pretty small. It's like a 2-hour party for several years of studying, long nights, skipping the parties with friends and being dedicated to your studies. So good things in life take work and time and dedication. And so it's the same with the collective issues we're facing, is there's a time for it because something is cooking, something is brewing beyond what we can really see. So I will be talking more on kind of like more of the political side and some crisis issues that we're facing as a collective next week. And I also will be diving into like alternatives for holidays, like if you are an empath or a light worker, starseed, or consider yourself spiritual or kind of a free mind on the esoteric path, you might naturally reject or repel mainstream holidays. You're not alone. And if you're an educator on this subject, I am looking for someone to join me on my radio show, News for the Soul Radio, um, December 24th at noon Central, if you're available. I'm looking to connect with someone that educates on alternatives to the mainstream holidays so that we can maybe get some more information out there on the benefits of educating yourself on where the origins of these holidays come from, what's the mediumship or the symbology, what is the language behind the objects that we're using in these ceremonies and rituals, the dates, the times, the astrological timing of it, what is really going on, so that we can see clearly and make choices if we want to just comply and go along with things, or if we want to maybe find something that's more authentic, rituals, practices, traditions that speak deeply to our soul versus the consumerism, the capitalism, and a lot of the I want to say like Satanism behind a lot of these mainstream holidays. Um, so that's what's coming up next on the Tuesday and Thursday shows. Um, we're going to go ahead and switch right into how to tap into your intuition. Okay. So I talked about psychic ability. Now, today I want to talk about mediumship. And the key for you will be to stay high. Okay. Not high on, let's say, drugs, but high on life. Keep your energy high vibrational. If you have a strong mediumship ability, it will help you to resonate with high vibrational energy outside of you. So if you believe in the laws of the universe, in the quantum field, like attracts like, and we are living in a hologram like stimulation, and we will broadcast out what we are, and the physical can kind of show you what you're broadcasting out, what you're projecting out through the physical reality. So when it comes to mediumship, it's your vessel of communication with energy. It's your vessel of your conduit of energy communication, spirit communication, communication between the realms. It works through vibration and frequency. So you use your mediumistic abilities through your senses. Your senses will be able to detect motion. Okay. Frequency, sound, sight, taste, smell, touch, the feel of things. And so between the different realms, you may not necessarily see or hear energy, but you can feel energy. Okay. You may not feel energy, but you can hear it. You don't see it, but you hear energy. That's not you. That is tapping into mediumistic abilities. So, how do we do this exactly? What is actually happening? This is my perspective. Okay, I'm not bringing like the scientific research into it. You can look that up yourself or drop a comment if you want me to present information on and do some research to share with you guys on the science behind ESP and psychic abilities and intuition. Because nowadays there are scientists that actually work with psychic mediums and have made this information available. And there is a science behind it, and different mediums, different psychics actually, what studies have found, use different areas of their brains will light up when they're tapped into the realms and their work. I personally use right brain channeling, and I'll also tap into my heart consciously. I tap into the heart field, and from there, I'm able to go in between different dimensions. And so, when it comes to mediumship, that's one of the first things you want to understand. What are the dimensions? There's a lot of information out there on the internet that's different. You can read books and watch a video on what are the dimensions. On my old website, if you've been working with me for a while, my old site had a blog where I went over the dimensions. To still get that information transferred over to my new site, but I think that what's really important is that you have to come up with what the definition of the dimensions are. That's your job, is to find that knowledge yourself. You don't want someone else to define spirituality for you. That's not sovereignty. Okay? If you're going into what I call penthouse consciousness, the top of the building, okay? You're in the higher mansion of your you. Reminds me of Teresa of Avila saying there's 7 mansions, talking symbolic of the chakras. Okay. So if you want to get into that space and tap into your intuition from the penthouse, this is what you're going to do. If you can tap into your intuition from the basement of the house, symbolically, and you'll still get truth. So you can look out of a house at the basement and see, and you say, what is the truth of what it looks like outside? And someone will say it looks like trees and a street, and that's the truth. And then you go to the penthouse, and what's it look like? You don't see the same image, but it's still the truth. So it's up to you. Your intuition is just like that. You're at different levels of consciousness. When you advance into the penthouse type of thinking and consciousness, that's when you're able to tap into your higher faculties, which we would more commonly know as intuitive abilities or intuitive intelligence. So that's also something you want to start with if you're tapping into your abilities, is to release the dogma around intuition, let that fly away, and know that it is innate. It's your biospiritual ecology that helps you to have intuition and intuitive power. So we get into the higher consciousness thinking, we're getting into uh, mediumship ability. So you want to understand the dimensions, okay? Find out yourself through your own personal studies. One thing you can do is you can ask spirit to lead you to information about different dimensions. You can, and then have that given to you through a teacher on YouTube or reading an article or a book. Or maybe you begin to form your own conclusion through all of those outlets and taking what you believe is true and feeling what is true. Take it to the next level and find out yourself by asking spirit to show you and tell you what are the dimensions. Okay. So for someone that has a heightened mediumistic ability, they are more naturally able to access the multidimensional brain, the parts of our brain that are multidimensional. We all have it. We all have the multidimensional brain, but for people that have heightened mediumistic ability, naturally are tapped in and plugged into different dimensions. When you're in different dimensions, there's a whole lot of different things happening. There's actually different law sets that govern the different levels of dimensions. So we are in the third dimensional reality here. And when you're in the 3D, you use your senses through the 3D. So just like the brain, the senses are also multidimensional. You are multidimensional. So in 3D, you see, I'm looking out at the computer. I see my cup. I see my cards over here, the light in the back. I mean, it's third dimensional. This area, everything that we're seeing, like when I describe my shirt as yellow like this, and the plant behind me, all of everything that we see here is temporary. It is one of the laws of this dimension is that change is basically the only constant. So being a spiritual being, having a human experience, we don't want to dismiss the other dimensions. When you go into, let's say, the fourth dimension, this is more of what we would know as like the astral plane. A lot can go on here. If we were to, let's say, tap into our heart, like I was just explaining, you can begin to tap into a 5D thought field, place, consciousness, plane of consciousness. All of those definitions can all be the truth of what dimensions are. When you get into higher dimensional thinking, you understand that multiple truths exist at once. That's very hard for a lot of 3D logical people to understand, because our 3D wants there just to be, one shoe fits all, one God, one way for us all. Why? It makes it easier for us to not have to really deeply think for ourselves. Someone's telling us, someone else's consciousness is telling us what things are and how things are. So again, I encourage you to find this out, and it takes time too. It takes experience and practice to be able to really, ask these deep etheric questions and find the answers. And we all find it through different ways. The quickest way to find the answers would be through mediumship, being able to tap in and tap out when you need to. A lot of times, we will meditate to find these answers, or astral travel, do out of body work in order to find these answers. Mediumship is a key to kind of getting more of that instant awareness that you need. Okay, but when you do that, and you are getting that instant information, this is where people kind of don't like it, especially, and they'll attack readers too. If you don't tell them every single detail that they want to hear, but the spirits aren't saying every single detail because it's not meant for the person to know every single detail. So when you get into mediumship and you're speaking to spirits of light, okay, so you're in a higher dimension of thought, that you then are tapped into those senses, the brain state. So you're not going anywhere. It's all through thought and intention that takes you to these places of intuition, these planes and these fields. And the more you practice it, the more you're aware of the shift, the instant subtle, very subtle shift that happens to let you know you're there in that dimension. Your eyes can be open, they can be closed, okay, and you can travel. So back to the mediumship. Spirits that are very high vibrational, these are the spirits that you would actually want to communicate with, okay? They are the ones that are going to have laws that are rooted in love, unconditional love, okay? With that, they cannot come through to you to bother you, to be a pest, to misguide you, trip you up, confuse you, bring you into those lower vibrational states that we can already experience here on Earth, the hells, the consciousness of hell, like hell consciousness. Okay, they don't do that. They don't lead you to go and drink. Okay. Sometimes people say, "Oh, spirit told me I should go and do this," and it's like, that's not spirit of light. Okay. So we learn discernment of who's influencing our thoughts by the vibration of the message, by how we feel, by what we see, what we smell, taste, hear. Okay. The more grounded you are and trained through awareness, is the easier it'll be for you to discern who you're speaking to, or what energies you're communicating with. And every day, it's like a muscle. You become stronger at your control of it. Okay, so we want to speak to the high vibration. They have laws. They, by law, cannot come in to misguide you, and that's a benefit to speaking to them. Who are they? Okay, a lot of times it's your angels are the higher vibrational beings. Your spirit team that you sign on to Earth with are high vibrational beings. Okay, they'll never misguide you. Now, they also respect boundaries. That's going to be key for you if you are developing your mediumistic abilities, is to really understand healthy boundaries. You can do this in the third dimension and do a boundary check on your own relationships with people and your relationship with self or habits. Okay. Or your relationship with food, money, whatever. And that'll kind of give you a glimpse, if you can be honest with yourself enough, and to are you responsible with boundaries? If you're not, communicating with the spirit realm is going to be just like that. It's going to be lack of boundaries. It may not be safe for you. It may be difficult for you to discern. It may be, if you don't have boundaries, you might, um, this is where they say the dark side of spirituality, you might invite in, spirits that that don't necessarily abide by those laws of higher vibration and light. Okay. So boundaries are going to be key. Now, um, so they respect boundaries. They will never do you harm, and they're here to guide you. Okay, when you are beside for tapping into a spirit, if you're just tapping into the higher dimensions to get information, like you're tapping into your higher mind. Okay, your penthouse you has a bird's eye view. It understands. It's like a governor of the house. It's houses. Okay, your interconnected system is the governor and sees all. It's the god, the goddess, and you can trust your higher self. You can trust your spirit, even if your spirit tells you something that you don't necessarily want to hear. Like you've got to put down that addiction. You've got to um, let go of that toxic partner. You've got to take better care of your health. Your intuition will guide you to the place that you deep down, your true purest essence wants. So when they in religious or spiritual context, we say the battle of the flesh, the spiritual warfare. It's a warfare of your own energy, your own vortexes, your own high and low you, and all of the parts of you that are attached to that. Okay. Um, the more integrated, the more aware you are, which I talked about in part one, the easier it is for you to know that voice of truth within you as it speaks up and guides you. So it's important to also keep your vibration high. Okay. If you are intending, your intention to speak to the spirit realm is so you can find out the route to go, you know, spy on someone and do harm, be sneaky and steal or like harm somebody, you're not going to be met on the other side with light. Okay. You're not going to be met with those spirits. And part of the discernment is you can know if your intention, that's what you want to hold pure and then protect it, your true intention. Okay. Because that's the key in these dimensions. So if your intention is to do harm and you want to go ask a spirit for help, and sometimes in different rituals, um, spells, this is common practice to invite in or evoke spirits that do resonate with that harm to go and be like what I call a runner guide. If you've ever trained with me, I help you to find your runner guide, which is like your joy guide in a sense, to help you out. Okay, to help with timeline, help make things go forward. Like your helper guide. Okay, but if you're coming from a negative place, you're going to get that type of being that's like into that resonates with that, doesn't want to follow the laws of boundaries because you don't, doesn't want to follow the rules of love because you don't. Okay, so think of yourself as the avatar, the main character in the movie, and think of your spirit guides as assisting you on that journey. Now your spirit guides are of light, those are the ones we will listen to, but again, I just mentioned there's this duality here in the third dimension. So you also attract in at times spirit guides that are lower and lower vibrational, and they aren't necessarily trying to do harm, not necessarily. Let's say, I think one of the biggest negative or lower vibrational states that you can be in that I see that leads to negative spiritual attachments and spirit guides is a victim mindset. So, the perfect example, if you hold the intention of being a victim, okay, you may attract a lot of astral energy that resonates with that. And that can feel like harm, but not necessarily as an intentional meaning to do harm. It can be like a wallowing type of energy, a saddened energy, a depressed energy that you resonate with if you hold that victim mindset state. Okay. And then that's not going to guide you to a higher place. That's not going to provide you peace, clarity, all of the reasons or intentions why you would even go into mediumship in the first place. So get your intentions straight before you even go into anything spiritual, whether it's prayer, whether it's holidays and rituals and rites, or spirit communication. Okay. And that will tell you who's meeting you on the other side. One of the other things is I think a detox is helpful. Um, if you don't do it, the universe will push you into detoxing. Okay. So just detox if you really want to develop your spiritual practice. If you really want to develop your mediumistic abilities, then detox. So that way your integration can be clearer. Okay, so we have a comment here. Okay, so Eddie Schrock, do you see anything for me, Archangel Azrael? Okay, so if you have any questions, you can go ahead and read the description box. Thank you so much for saying hello. If you want to purchase a reading, this is a paid show, so the details are in the description box. And then I will be getting to all readings at the end of the show. Thank you. So let's say your intention is for healing. Spirits of light love to come through for that. And I think that's something that we could all probably take from this message. If you're on like a healing journey, work with your angels. They love to help you to heal. Work with your, so Eddie says, okay, I don't use money, but thank you. We love you. Okay, thank you for putting the comment in here. So healing is important, okay, to ask spirit about. Guidance and clarity on everyday decisions are reasons why you would intentionally go into mediumship. Closure. So say you have a loved one that passed away and you want closure. A lot of times when there's someone you really, really love, and you're in a place of somewhat like religious deconstruction, a lot of the times is where we begin to then ask these questions. Is my loved one on the other side okay? What's it like over there? I just have to know that my loved one's okay. So the intention of like speaking to loved ones for closure is a really beautiful and popular reason why you would even get into mediumship. Now, if you are having a lot of religious dogma, you'll be afraid to do that because of whatever. A lot of times the Bible will say, don't commune with spirits. So I give a harsh example of if you're a mother that's lost a child, it's like, why would you not communicate with your child in heaven? It's bizarre, because the Bible says so, and that's how you want to live. You'll live like that, but you'll miss out. Trust me. Your loved one, your child loves you still. And on the other side, they do come to visit us for guidance. They do come and give us protection. They do come and share what we need to know at that moment. They help us out. They are part of our spirit team. They get grouped in deceased loved ones on the other side, and sometimes you can put them with ancestors that they will hang out together. But it's a myth that they're just like resting in peace, waiting for resurrection day. Resurrection day comes the moment after your kundalini and you wake up and you finally get through it. You finally get through that rebirth and you're reborn again. Okay. So that can happen many times in your life. On the other side, from what I see, it's more of a quicker process, um, with a life review and a transition into many different possibilities. Okay. So, but the light is a place of peace. That is, I feel, very true. I would equate it to like heaven. Okay. What you would call heaven, nirvana, bliss, enlightenment, with instant manifestations through thought. You instantly think and you just are. And so, from what I've seen or experienced, is that they get sometimes even bored of that. Okay. And so Earth is very, it's the change is what's constant. So it's very diverse. It's there's the pressure, the challenges, the darkness here, and light contrast. The darkness really helps you to understand love, which is like one of the reasons why we come here. So it's worth it in the end. Um, at the end, it's like this eternal, forever energy. So when you are trying to, let's say, find closure from a loved one that's passed over, and you're trying to communicate with them, are you okay? What's it like over there? Were you suffering when you transitioned? Um, these are all, I feel, very healthy questions that you want to talk to your loved one on the other side about, versus just staying in the state of limbo, or being very confused or unsure, or going to someone else for such a sacred relationship. It's like your relationship was sacred and maybe private before this person passed. So they're continuing on to a higher form of thought. Why not just keep that sacredness and become familiar with it on the other side? And then, you can always reach it out to your deceased, loved one, your mom, maybe that passed away, that is no longer attached to the third dimensional body, which is heavy and dense and has this duality to it. So she's now just pure light, pure love. Okay. Um, she will guide you from a place that's not emotional. The emotion is here in the third dimension. That's what makes this so unique, and another reason why we come here. So if you think of emotion is like the ocean, like planet ocean that we are on, it's an emotional place, and emotion is what helps us to manifest. So it's a unique place in that we have emotion and love. And so they aren't as emotional. They aren't attached to identity either. Here we're obsessed with it. We are obsessed with titles. We're obsessed with identity. Um, Instead of thinking of more on like the spiritual concept of like covenants and having sacred agreements with people, we value titles. That's my wife. That's my husband. Okay. Instead of and then divorced within a year. Instead of focusing on the private covenant between people, that sacred agreement between people, I think that's where you find more of a healthy foundation. The foundation, if you can agree onto a covenant, I think that's really what marriage is about. But our loved ones on the other side, they're not about that. They are about sacred agreements, though. They are about the covenants. They're not about identity or titles. So, your loved one might come through as, mom on the other side, but she's not really worried about like, um, as much of the third dimensional concepts like that you would think, which can sometimes be hard for people to understand while we're here. But if you can try to understand it, it actually helps you to heal and detach and to know the higher truth and to get through. It's like you're going to meet mom again, and you're actually meeting mom right now in a different light, a different dimension. And now she's not mean to you like she once was, or now she's not sick like she once was, and now it's just pure love. Now it's just pure guidance. So you can actually find a lot of closure in communicating with your loved ones on the other side through mediumship, and you should do it. Okay. So no, they're not just resting, waiting for a resurrection day. No, you're not going to go to hell for listening to your deceased child come by and tell you that they're okay. And they love you and that angels are real, because they do stuff like that. They do. And they help you find your keys, and they help you to avoid accidents and the wrong love partners. And um, today I was at a store, and the clerk just started talking to me about something random, and I was just like, well, I'm a reader, and like there's a grandma here, and like the girl was changing her name, and the name was to the grandma, and the grandma was like getting my attention to get through to her. So it's like it's an imperative message to this woman. It could be life changing, life saving. I mean, your loved ones will get the attention of a medium if they've been trying to get attention to you because you're the medium. You're just probably thinking you're not because of the church. Okay, so you are a medium, you are a conduit. You do have angels that guide you. They're not there just to guide you, they speak to you. There's a spirit communication that takes place between you, your God, your Jesus, your Buddha. There is a spirit communication. It's not just God put it on my heart. Remember, I talked about that's where I go to go in between the dimensions. So we just have to be real when we say, I'm so led, or the Holy Spirit told me X, Y, and Z. Let's be real in 2025 going into 2026. That is mediumship. It's mediumship. And I suggest you train in it because at the basement level thinking, back to the house and the mansions, the lower mansions, the root, which is third dimensional, if you're coming from that place, every spirit you see, you'll think it's Jesus. That's why you can have a car accident of two people. And this person, when they had the near death experience, saw Jesus. And this one, they saw Buddha. And it could have been the same spirit that came through to God that protect them both. But based on this person's perception and level of consciousness, they saw Jesus. And this one saw Buddha. Okay. But it could be the same being. It's your lens. So your dogmas, your 3D identities, your concepts that are created by man of the world will put a lens on your mediumistic abilities. And then it's almost like Carl Jung, where it's like, if you don't do shadow work, you'll think that, everything is fate. You'll follow your ego type of thing. It's like, you'll call it fate or you'll call it God. But you really don't know and you're following your darkness. Okay. So that's how it is. In reality with mediumship, that's what's happening. And I watch people be turned away from sessions like this because of the church over and over again. But I say the minister is the medium. The Bible was written by mediums. Okay. So it was all channeled. Every artist channels. Okay, so we're shifting into a society that has, enough respect for the truth to say, okay, we follow this. And there's now the science that helps all of the logical people that were just waiting for that. They were just waiting for some sort of science. Now you can look into it. So consciously going into the heart field, consciously going into the right brain, consciously tapping into your senses with the intention, it will bring you into the mediumistic state. Now, from there, if you haven't done your shadow work, if you haven't done a lot of healing and your detox, you might have a lot of voices or one voice, but it's just speaking fast and it's ruminating and it's here, it's there, it's everywhere. Then you got a song playing in the background. And then you're thinking about this and that in the past, so that's why you detox, if anything, is because you've got to get all that straightened out, because how are you going to hear clearly? So one of the things that Jesus, there's a lot of Bible verses of Jesus, supposedly speaking, and he's sharing about meditation and prayer. He's saying to clear your mind and hold no thought and shut the door, He's meaning like it's a symbol and symbology. It's esoteric for like tune out of the world and go higher. Go in your inner world, your inner mansions to reach me, to reach God. And that is, I would say that's where the skill comes in, because as you detox, you're developing your psychic ability to heal yourself. You're developing your intuition. You're finding more trust and confidence in yourself and your ability to be empowered and take care of things for yourself with spirit. Okay. So true faith, you develop that. And with that understanding of kind of clearing out those voices and the distractions and the pulls, you become clearer and clearer. You hold no thought. And that will ultimately be the best for you to um, have mediumship ability and hear properly. Hear, from the ones you'll be able to discern a lot easier if your mind is clear. It doesn't necessarily have to be like I've given readings where I'm like, oh, there's so much going on mentally. And, it's like I was in a busy place and it just was loud. And then I would hear to the fair and to the store and the restaurant. And it just feels like there's just a lot of energy. Yeah, I could still give a reading with accuracy. I can still put that to the side and clear it and read and speak to who I need to speak to. But that is a skill. If you just tune it out. So the more you practice your abilities, you're just coming up with a movement, a symbol, an image, a sound. You're doing something from thought and imagination, and that governs these fields. Okay, these dimensions. So for you to begin to tap into your mediumistic abilities consciously, one of the things I want you to do is to sit, meditate, and clear the mind. You're not doing the meditation to mediumship, you're doing the meditation to clear your mind and heart. And a lot of times that's going to take some work like shadow work, it can sometimes take therapy, somatic therapy release, hypnotherapy. When the mind is clear, then you have a clear stage. Okay. Now, mediums do mediumship different. Some people, I've heard of people doing just like really different things. Like some people close their eyes, some people keep their eyes open. Some people are like they have movement with their channeling. Some people are like turned around and staring at a wall. Some people do it like everybody does it different. You want to find out what your way of channeling is. And you've already been doing it more likely throughout your life. You just probably weren't aware of it or were afraid of it. Okay. Um, and it's like spirits, it's like I'm like, I just want to stop here and be like, there's this myth of like, oh, you don't want to see. You really don't want to see. Don't follow the advice that says you don't really want to see. You do want to see, okay, for yourself. Unless you want to walk around like this. You don't, because that's when those are the ones that don't know who they're talking to. Those are the ones that are misguided and usually will follow false light. They'll have no, the Antichrist time, they have no idea that they are voting against their best interest. They have no idea that they're sending, their kids off to places where there's, the false light reigns. Okay. That's their dimensional blind faith. Someone else is telling me what God is and what Jesus said versus me doing it and finding out myself, my own personal relationship. Okay. So don't do that. Be the main character, find out for yourself and know that you are capable and your healing journey will help you to go higher. Ultimately, that's why you're detoxing. It brings you in a higher vibrational state. So I started with the detox of like emotions and feelings and traumas, and parts healing is super important for mediumship and intuition development and just overall peace and not feeling like bipolar or like pulled, uncertain, undecided, and unable to kind of operate through like one personality or one thought. It's usually a fragmented person. Okay. So it makes you higher. It makes you feel lighter. Like if you were ever to get Reiki or energy healing session, you might say, I feel a lot lighter, feel clearer. Okay. So that's what you want. And you can do that every day, some sort of cleansing meditation or cleansing, clearing ritual before you go into your spirit communication. I do. Um, Before I go into spirit communication, I ground myself and I am clearing. And anything in the mind, it's a good check-in for you personally, because it's like it's not just for like mediumship, it's like good for my day if I'm like, what's going on up here? I'm at peace today. I feel good. I'm happy. I'm optimistic. I'm excited. Or, I'm like, oh, I'm irritated. I'm worried. Got a huge list to do. Only, it's like you can do a check-in on yourself mentally where you're at. And, you know, um, you can do something about it and say, I'm going to change these thoughts this morning. Get a grip. Okay. I'm going to focus on working and being present and working out and eating well today. Take a moment of silence and just check in and just listen. Okay. So you'll already begin once you're breathing and connecting like this to tap into mediumistic abilities. It's that easy. We just don't have discernment that it's happening. Okay. Um, and spirit is like the good shepherd, the good teacher. So it's like some people aren't meant to, in the moment yet have access to higher consciousness. There's a purpose for NPCs, by the way. That's what I mean. Like, there's everybody has a role in this whole collective, like, pool of energy, and so NPCs, like people that are just not very conscious, like they're easily controlled and just kind of doing what's predictable. There's a purpose for for this soul. Like, and some are soulless, but a lot of them have souls. They're just unplugged. Okay. There's a purpose for that. Light worker out there. There's a purpose why you're met with resistance. Like, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't here. And everybody's got to, be in these roles. So it's a choice. It is a choice to operate from someone else's consciousness or your own. That is a choice. Stay high. Okay. So once I do my check-in, something else you could do is I want you to try to do some breath work. The first like year to 2 years I started doing mediumship, I always did a breathwork routine that I have saved on my phone from YouTube. Let me know if you're interested in any breathwork techniques in the comments if you're watching this afterwards, so I can know if that's something you guys want me to like talk about what I do. I do a lot of like alkaline breathing, fire breaths, something I work with my students on too, and recommend if you are trying to clear your mind or go higher in consciousness. I do breath holds, and it's very helpful. It releases DMT, but for me, it's clearing, it's grounding, and it brings me where I need to go mentally. And then that's really all that you need to start. Okay, so a grounded state, getting grounded like a tree, grounding in your Merkaba, turning the lights on, doing your own routine, breathing, breath, connecting with your heart chakra. You might intentionally open your chakras, clear your chakras, do what you have to do. But you're getting to a center stage that is clear. Once you have your mind clear, this is where I want you to begin to tap into your intuition. Okay? Tap into your intention and say something along the lines of, I am going into my mediumistic abilities. I am going into the fifth dimensional heart space, and for the purpose of speaking to my spirit guides, for the purpose of communicating with my angels. I want to hear who's guiding me on the other side from heaven. Who's on the other side guiding me right now? It's like only the highest vibration can come through. I allow into my space now to connect with the higher vibration that guides me. Okay. Your intention is your power. And that's where we start in like the rudimentary level of mediumship, is you're going into a dimension with a clear state and an intention. Okay. And from there, with mediumistic abilities, I'm going to begin to wrap this message up. If you want to do this one-on-one with me, sign up for my Journey with JoJo package session. Uh, I have just a spiritual development journey, or I have a healer's journey. So if you want to become an energy healer, do the 12 session package. If you want to just work on your spiritual development, do the 6 session package. Um, but I also have a 3 session package where we can start working on this one-on-one too, so that you're not alone doing this. Is very, very helpful, and you have an expert, and I do this for a living, and I've trained in it, and I teach it, so I can help you to understand the parameters of making sure you're communicating with a higher vibration. And I would say from my experience that takes years. It takes literally years of like trial error, making mistakes for you to be like, oh my God, I totally messed that up. Oh my gosh, okay, I see now. That was a symbol. That wasn't even literal. Oh my gosh, that meant 12 things, not just one. That was a symbol that meant so many. You learn with time and you develop your skill and relationship with spirit. That's the basics. And so from this place, I usually recommend making a stage. Okay. So some mediums will do TV screens, some can do projector screens. Um, you can look out of your third eye and like see a crystal ball, your favorite type of crystal. You can look as if you're like looking into a pond or a water bowl. Um, you can like make a table in your mind. I mean, like the list goes on, but you want to create something like a podium, a stage. You want to meet somewhere with your spirit guides, right? So imagine it, go there in your mind. And you're going to, um, from this step, you're going to begin to um, find out who is actually in your space. So that is going to require some discernment. That's going to require some probably one-on-one training. But simply what you can do is once you have your spirit team at your space, your designated space, whether it's your beach house gazebo or your stage or your podium, wherever spirit's meeting you, you want to begin to interact and then say what you need to help you with your code, your key. Okay. So you're coming up with some sort of system for yourself. I've seen famous mediums say that they will have an upper vision or a lower vision field of a screen. You can have a left and a right field. You could just have one center circular field or triangle. So it's different per person what you're seeing, but you're setting some sort of boundary for the spirit realm and you're letting them know your code. So my code is like angels will come over here near me and spirit guides will come over here near me. Loved ones will here, pets here, elementals here. So you begin to have like your space for your spirits, and it's in a code. And because they're of light, they abide by it. They follow it. And because you're powerful, you've already set the stage and said, "I'm putting light around this space. Nothing negative can come through." You've set that boundary. You've set the laws. You've set your stage and space that says, this is only for my highest vibrational team. Okay. This is not for the lower vibration to join me here. And that works. That's how it works. It's your intention, your power. You become stronger at putting that shield up. You become clear in knowing that, in trusting that this is safe for you. At first, it won't feel safe, of course, because of everything you've been told. And it's new. And a lot of times when we try something new, it does feel unfamiliar. It does sometimes feel uncomfortable and sometimes scary. Don't confuse that for unsafe. You're going into your mind, your spirit team to meet your angels, your guides that you've signed onto earth with that guide you. So it's sacred. We want to switch it from a fear-based state to it's a sacred, holy language. It's a sacred, holy communication. I'm gonna get off here soon, but that's where I'll stop for today. I'll wait for some feedback. If anyone wants to drop a comment and let me know what your thoughts are on this message, because we aren't in empathic ability yet. We're not really finished with mediumistic ability, but I know that next week I do have some other things in mind that I want to talk about. That spirit will definitely is already put in for me to bring through. So, and I mentioned that at the beginning of this message. So, thank you for joining. And even if you're watching this afterwards, please like and support my channel by subscribing and sending this message to someone that might find it beneficial. If you would like to train in your abilities, work with me. You can find out more about my packages and trainings at jojoempathic.com. I offer Reiki courses and an energy healing training package where I work with you one on one to help you become an intuitive healing practitioner, teaching you quantum healing techniques, teaching you Reiki techniques, and medical intuitive um, techniques as well, and how to really tap into those abilities. So, if you're interested in that, please join me. I also offer private readings. That you can book right at jojoempathic.com. I'm also on Etsy. I offer video calls over Zoom and WhatsApp and phone calls as well, and also in person in the North Texas area. So thank you guys for joining me. Join me next Tuesday, 3 p.m. here live on YouTube. But I do want to say, so it's next week, we're already getting into next Tuesday. I invite you to my free show. This is actually not my show. So next Tuesday is December 16th. We'll say 11 a.m. Pacific time. I am doing a reading open line show with Joanne Carvalho, and I'm super excited. She's a light worker and soul embodiment guide. She's also a host on the radio, and I'll be joining her show for live readings. We'll be kind of piggybacking off of each other. I'm super excited. And then she'll be joining my show on my birthday, January 28th. So those are 2 free shows for you guys, as well as the 24th, my show will be on. So thank you guys for being here. Hope you have a lovely weekend, and be sure to check in on Saturday for that message on faith. Okay. All right. Y'all. Thank you.